Okay, guys, it's time to get into my spoiler. 1 second. No, I'm not answering questions about spoilers. Okay, so now, guys, it's time to. Just 2 seconds. I cannot tell you what happens to Rayla this season. Alrighty, y'all, let's try this again. What's up, guys? Please. No, I'm not letting you know what happens to Viren either. Okay, we're gonna start this from the top. Let's cue the intro, and let's get into my spoiler-free review for Season 6 of The Dragon Prince. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and that's right, today is the day that you probably have been waiting for, and so have I, where I get to talk about my spoiler-free thoughts on Season 6 of The Dragon Prince. A big thank you to Netflix, Ehasz, Justin, Richmond, and the entire team for giving me the chance to see this early for review. It's 9 episodes, it's normal length, right? 28 minutes or so per episode. And let me tell you one thing just to start us off. This is a season that contains my favorite episode of The Dragon Prince ever. Now, before we get into my review, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and yeah, The Dragon Prince. Oh, and if you were wondering, of course, beginning this Friday, I'm gonna be dropping my episode reactions all the way through for you guys to see how I got very emotional this season. So get subscribed down below, tap on that bell so you don't miss out on a video like this as well if you enjoy The Dragon Prince, and get loud in the comments below and let me know where your hype levels are at. And okay, you can ask questions, but I'm not answering any spoilers. I promise you that, not until Friday. Now, if you need a little refresher on Season 6, here we go. Callum, Rayla, and the gang must venture to new and distant lands to begin preparing themselves to stop Aaravos at all costs. Amaya and Janai are also dealing with Kareem and his army of traitors while we wait to find out the fate of Zubeia at the same exact time. But will Aaravos escape? And will both the human kingdoms and Zadia be ready for whatever is ahead? Yeah, guys, I'm just gonna say y'all ain't ready for this season. But the series, again, of course, is created by Ehasz and Justin Richmond, who might be making an appearance on the channel. We'll see. And the series, again, stars some amazing talent. You have Sena as Callum, Paula Burrows as Rayla, Sasha Rojen as King Ezran, Racquel Belmonte as Claudia, Jesse Inocalla as Soren, Jason Simpson as Viren, and Erik Dellums as Aaravos. Man, Erik Dellums, bro. Man, this guy's good. But y'all, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Of course, the series comes out this Friday, July 26th, but I'm here to talk about my spoiler-free thoughts on Season 6. So, let's get into it. Alrighty, we're going to begin at the top with my positives, because there's so much good to great things to say about this season. The one thing you feel almost immediately once you even get started with this season is that there's an increase in intensity and the stakes at hand. And I'm not talking steak like food, and put down the jelly tart. I'm talking like the stakes for what's ahead for our characters. There are dire situations that unfold in Season 6. I mean, it's the first time, in my opinion, that we get anything close to a Game of Thrones level destruction. Guys, I'm saying, okay, without saying it. But be worried for your favorites, okay? Because Season 6 really is a very good example of why you stick with the storytelling, right? Because we start to see things that happen in Season 6 that would not be possible without 4 and 5. Yes, we've talked about it on the channel. Season 4 is the weakest of the series, but there are things that happen in that season that set up for Season 6. So there are great levels of destruction and deaths, and everything sort of comes together, at least for me, because of the incredible voice work again in Season 6. Now, if you remember in Season 5, Racquel Belmonte as Claudia was my standout. She did an incredible job, and the best job in my opinion that season. Here in Season 6, she does an amazing job as Claudia, but there's a heavier focus on Viren. Now, Jason Simpson, as we know, is an incredibly talented individual, but the amount of emotion in his performance this season, for me, allows me to say this with full confidence, he delivers the best performance of the bunch. There were moments I was getting full body chills and I felt like crying, especially in some flashback moments. And Viren is a character that I've kind of not, I didn't like him in season 1. I thought he was kind of a snake, right? And then as we get closer to season 3, and then in season 3, I'm like, dude is an evil person. I don't like him. I'm a hater. And then season 4 and 5, you start to maybe feel bad. But in season 6, the way that they work with his character arc, I gotta be careful with my choice of words there, and give him a different side that we haven't seen before, it made me actually feel for Viren. I was sympathetic towards this character, and I never thought I would get there. There's also the voice work of Jesse Inocalla, who really shocked me as Soren, not because we didn't expect him to be funny. We know he has good comedic timing, but it's the drama that he infuses into this season. That was something that surprised me. I knew he had it. He showed some glimpses of it, especially in season 5. Remember when Soren's aboard Finnegrin's ship and then basically gives this cool speech. He even does something similarly in season 4 when they're trying to get out of Rex Igneous's lair. You remember the speech about having heart? Well, let me tell you, there's a moment in season 6 where he commands the screen like I've never seen him command the screen before. I forgot to blink and I maybe skipped a beat because there was so much passion behind his voice work this season, and I'm glad because Soren is a character who, yes, we know him to be funny, and he is especially very funny in episode 2 this season, but later on in season 6 turns in one of his best performances yet. And of course, I have not forgotten about Rayla themselves. You have Paula Burrows and Jack Sena, who voice Rayla and Callum, respectively. And they have this impeccable chemistry. We knew this from the previous seasons, but here, they really did help sell me on their relationship. Yes, I know, I said the word relationship. Don't freak out, okay? Don't, just keep watching. Keep watching this review. I'm not confirming or denying anything, okay? But I will say, there's many moments where you understand why this duo works so well together. There's a great deal of emotion between them. Individually, they have their own struggles, as of course their characters do, and it's a beautiful, harmonious pairing. So kudos, of course, to Aaron Ehasz and Justin Richmond for finding this talent, bringing them together, and it works very well for me. And yes, I was close to crying. You'll see it in my reactions, okay? But they did such a good job. So between Rayla moments that are earned, you have an awesome performance by Jesse Inocalla and Racquel Belmonte in the best of the season with Viren, voiced by Jason Simpson. What else, of course, do we have to talk about? We got a lot more, right? So let's begin now on a technical note with the animation. There's wonderful animation here, you guys. I mean, this is the best since season 3. I'm on the record saying season 4 and 5, there was something a little off about the animation. Maybe there was a heavier reliance on the 3D modeling for some characters, and that's not a bad thing, but it didn't feel as smooth as seasons 1 all the way to season 3. But here, man, they returned to form. They begin to move back to that mixed style of animation with both 2D and 3D modeling, where we see some hand-drawn elements come out to play, especially with shading and lighting in certain scenes that just aids how good this looks. And the way that the animators and the artists are able to set the table with establishing shots is incredible. I mean, there are moments, for example, at the Star Scraper where my jaw's on the ground. Like, there's dead air in my reactions, and I'm like, this is gorgeous. All the colors, all the hues come out to play beautifully together. Even the forest settings when we're in episode 2 with the mushroom forest. Or if we're in these bleak, dark moments, there's still life to them. And that's what I love so much about season 6. It takes what you love from seasons 1 to 3, refines it a bit, right? Makes it a little bit more modern with the 3D approaches to the modeling. But for the most part, this is the smoothest animation since season 3, and we're going to be better off for it because if this is a sign of things to come for season 7, y'all, we are in good shape. And what helped me feel more connected to season 6 was how good the pacing was. There weren't many lulls. There were maybe 1 or 2 moments where the pacing was a little off, but for the most part, I don't even remember 30 minutes passing. I'm sitting down watching these episodes and thinking, wait, are we getting end credits already? Like, I could not believe how smooth this season was. And there's a lot, of course, happening and a lot of loose ends tied up, which is good for us as fans. But it makes it even more enjoyable on rewatch, because at the time of this recording, I'm about halfway through my second rewatch now. And y'all, oh my goodness gracious, what an amazing time I'm having with this season, because it is just easy to watch, but sometimes not easy to stomach. I'll just say that. Yes, so the pacing is good, but you also have to credit the writing department. Now, this team is probably the best team that they've assembled all series long. The writing in this season was really good. There were some outcries from fans in season 4 and 5 where people thought, you're doing a lot of tell, not showing. You know, show don't tell is always the golden rule when it comes to movie making and TV, but here there's a lot of lore explained, but it never dragged. And you start to see evidence of that in episode 4, The Star Scraper, written by Eugene Ramos, where Eugene does a great job at explaining a lot without us feeling like we're just being spoken to. I'm also able to keep up with everything, so it's really cool, and you'll hear from Eugene, Paige, and Mikal here on the channel soon, but what they do with this episode and all the episodes in season 6 is expand on the Dragon Prince universe, but also appeasing fans that have been waiting for updates on their favorites. So you will be satisfied. If you're not, I mean, come talk to me. Well, I'll hear you out. But I believe the majority of fans will be happy with how their favorites are being treated and how some newcomers on the scene are being introduced. I also think the payoff is lovely. Again, we mentioned it, but the payoff is really good in season 6 for what we've been waiting for from season 4, 5 to now. So, I mean, I have nothing to complain about when it comes to this department. I will say though that all of this, I'm a stickler for cinematography and scores. You know this if you've been following the channel. All of this is beautiful. It's the cherry on top that makes it that much sweeter, and that's Frederick Wiedmann's score for season 6. If you're anything like me, you're listening to his score for the Dragon Prince from seasons 1 all the way to season 5. And I would love if they release season 6 score right away, but it's absolutely consistent with how great his music's been all season long. And there are some moments of action and despair. I'm looking at you, episode 8, where the score comes in and it captivated me. I was that much more focused on the episode thanks to the score. I don't know how they got Frederick Wiedmann here, but I'm glad they did, because this dude is just incredible. Okay, he's one of my favorite composers in the game, and the fact that he's scoring one of my favorite shows to date is awesome. So his score in season 6 is just really good. There are, of course, motifs that sort of carry from episode to episode, and you hear it in different ways, and there are different interpolations, which is cool. And it just worked for me. And one of the last things I'll say in this section is season 6 sets up for a grand finale with season 7. Because if you haven't heard, season 7 is the final season of the Dragon Prince, at least as of now. So what season 6 does is, of course, give you more Aaravos. Because this part of the series is the mystery of Aaravos. And let me tell y'all, what it does to then set up season 7, the cliffhanger we were left on, is earned, and it is excellent. I was floored, you guys. If I didn't have a chair that had these little arm things, I might have been leaning over left or right, but oh my goodness, I was just in love with what they did. And when it ended, I was satisfied, and it felt very whole. You know what I mean? Everything made sense. The progression to the season 6 finale was just near flawless. And I gotta say, season 6, man, I'm gonna release a ranking and stuff, but as of now, it's neck and neck with season 3. So kudos to the entire cast and crew. You got a winner on your hands with this one, at least for me. So that's all the positives, right? At least in the spoiler-free section. So, and there'll only be a spoiler-free section, by the way. We'll get into a spoiler review next week. But the negatives. All right, I'm not gonna be that Reddit user that just nitpicks, because there's a lot of good, but there are some things that maybe hold it back from being like a 5 out of 5 experience. So let's talk about the negatives here. At certain points, I do think the show hits a little bit of a wall in terms of its momentum building. That's not often, but I felt this way towards the middle to end of season 6. It really was towards the end of Act 2, because, you know, you have to look at how the episodes are grouped together. But Act 2, I will say, has some moments where I love the backstory being given, but it did sort of stifle the momentum that had been building, and you hit a little wall. Just a little bit. It's not long, of course, but the pacing was a bit uneven in those moments, and I get it. They have to fill a lot in within 28 minutes worth of TV. But in these instances, I would, of course, think maybe another episode, right? A 10-episode season could benefit the pacing and the momentum that you're developing to give you more time, maybe, to, of course, showcase all the backstory that's being fed to us as an audience. And honestly, guys, I can't really think of any other negatives, because the season itself was truly strong, and I don't have anything that I could even nitpick here. So I guess now it's time to get into, before my overall thoughts, of course, a section that I'd like to call satisfying or not. Now, this is a section that's going to be really funny probably for you to watch me go through, because I'm going to give you either satisfying, sort of satisfying, of course, very satisfying, or not so satisfying grades for areas of season 6 that I know you all are very interested in. So let's begin with how Janai and Amaya were handled this season. Am I satisfied or not? Well, satisfying overall, very satisfying for a moment. And I can't say anything else, but yeah, for the most part, the way they treated Janai and Amaya here, it's lovely. You already know they're hinting towards their next steps. They're engaged, and now they've got to start looking for wedding stuff to do. So yes, but then there's outlying stuff with Kareem and the traitorous Sunfire Elf army. So yeah, there's a lot going on, but for the most part, I think you'll be satisfied. Okay, so let's now move on to Claudia and Terry, your favorite duo, right? I just made so many of y'all mad right now. But Claudia and Terry at times feel like they do get a lot of focus, especially early on in season 6 and at the end of the season as well. But there are stretches where we don't necessarily see much of them. Not a bad thing, but at the same time, I think if you're super fans of Claudia and Terry, there are individual moments that will make you very satisfied, but overall, I think it's partly satisfying. It's not necessarily going to be blowing you away. I believe if this were, of course, season 5, you would be all on board with Claudia and Terry, right? You would be so happy with their moments. But here, it's not as often that we see them, so I guess partly satisfying would be the grade I'd give this duo for this season. Now, let's go on to another duo here. Soren and Corvus. What is the name that y'all give them? Sorvis? Individually, my goodness, Soren. I mean, wow, very, very satisfying for fans of Soren, because he gives you his impeccable comedic charm in episode 2, and then hits you in the gut as if he were Mike Tyson himself towards the end of season 6. Oh my gosh, episode 8. Soren on his own is very satisfying, right? It's going to be someone that you're going to take away from the season and say they handled him so well. Corvus, though, in season 6 doesn't get too much shine. If anything, he's very much paired to the hip with Soren here, and unfortunately overlooked for the most part. So, if you're a Corvus fan like I am, it's a little unsatisfying, right? So, Soren and Corvus together, I would say they're fine, but individually, with Soren at least, he's very, very satisfying. At least what they've given to him is incredibly satisfying for fans. So now let's move on to Zim, Zubeia, and King Ezran. Let me tell y'all, if you are a owner of a husky, if you have a husky at home and you're watching a particular episode here early on in season 6, there's howling, and that might make your house get much louder. So I love the way they handled King Ezran here. Oh my goodness, did they give him the chance to shine and flex his muscle, because there's a particular moment that shows us a side of King Ezran that we've never seen before. And I loved it, okay? I absolutely loved it. Now, when it comes to Zim and Zubeia, they get much of their shine in Season 2, Love, War, and Mushrooms. Now, Zubeia is sort of given the Domina Profundis treatment here. I don't want to really go into too much details, but I was a little, maybe it's like a tad bit disappointed there. I was hoping for a little bit more, you know what I mean? Even with Zim is kind of non-existent for the most part this season, but I think that's okay, because they're getting to a point now where I believe Zim and Zubeia will be very important in Season 7, so I'm like partly satisfied with Zim and his role here in Season 6. Now, let's get into Kareem, the traitorous Sunfire Elves, and Sol Regum, also a traitor. Yeah, definitely a traitor. I actually was very satisfied with how they handled Kareem and his gang of traitors this season, especially when we get a negotiation scene with Kareem and I can't say who else. But I will say, the voice work for Kareem is really good here, you guys. Of course, in the limited screen time he gets, but I was actually more satisfied with this subplot than I was in Season 5. And I think that's saying a lot. Okay, so now we're getting into the heavy hitters. Let's talk about Viren. Are we satisfied or not? It goes without question, based on what I said at the beginning of this review, that I am otherworldly satisfied with how they handled Viren this season. This is the most complex depiction of Viren we've ever gotten in The Dragon Prince. It's the most layered. It is the most tumultuous in terms of emotion. I can keep going. I don't have enough hands. Thank God I'm not Rayla and have 4 fingers. But still, Viren is just going to satisfy fans and non-fans of the character. If you are not a fan of Viren, you're going to go into Season 6, and I am almost ready to guarantee you will be a fan of him by the end. Okay, now let's get into the final 2. Rayla, we'll start with them. I don't even know if I have the words. I'm not satisfied. I'm kidding. Got y'all. No, I believe as a Rayla fan, right? I'm there. This is the most satisfying season of The Dragon Prince yet. Okay, so let's get into the final person here. Aaravos. Will we be satisfied with Aaravos or not in Season 6? And the answer is we will be satisfied. Now, I didn't say very satisfied, because while there are individual moments where I felt very satisfied overall, I think I'm going to save that rating for how they handle Aaravos in Season 7. Remember in the MCU, where we see Thanos at the beginning, and we kind of just get sprinkles of him, and then eventually in Infinity War and Endgame, we get a heavy dose of Thanos, right? I think they're doing something very similar with Aaravos, where we're getting sprinkles of amazing moments with Aaravos, especially in Season 6. Especially in Season 6. So much backstory with Aaravos. But, yeah. Aaravos, man. You wanted more, you got it. But yes. Alright, let's get into my final thoughts on Season 6 of The Dragon Prince. The Dragon Prince Season 6 will do 2 things for this fandom. 1, if you have been loving this series up to Season 6 like I have, you will be incredibly over the moon with what's been delivered. And 2, if you have been a fan who's maybe kind of on the fence, and Season 4 and 5, they weren't particularly your favorite seasons of The Dragon Prince, and you don't know if you'll see this show through, do it. Because Season 6 will not only win you over again, but it's bringing you back to Zadia. Because Season 6 is on the same level as season 3. And maybe with yet another rewatch, because I've given season 3 a lot of time to dwell because it is my favorite season so far, I can definitely see season 6 being even better than season 3, just given the grand scale and scope and everything for season 6. It just delivers. There's so much at play here, and they do very well at executing all of their ideas. Sure, were there some pacing issues at times? Yes, but the voice work is incredible, the writing is refined, the animation is gorgeous, the score works, and the payoff, it's worth it, man. It's just worth it. So season 7, I have no reason to believe will be anything less than great because of what season 6 has set up. So I guess I should just rate season 6. Okay, here it goes. 4.5 out of 5 jelly tarts. Your boy loves this season, okay? And I think you will too. But I need to know, once you watch it, let me know in the comments below what you think. But if you, of course, are seeing this at the beginning of the week, let me know, does this get you more excited for season 6? Because I don't think you have any reason to not be excited for this season. It's just incredible. Guys, thanks so much for your support. Because of everything we're building on the channel here, I was able to see this on time for this review. So thank you all again. God bless you guys, and I'll catch you at the next screening because I need time to decompress and watch season 6 again. It's happening.